got one final question coming from Miss Layla James, and she has a very interesting question that we haven't really talked about on the show, so I can't wait to get into it. Miss Layla writes, "Hey guys, so it looks like Shuri could be our next Black Panther. I'm seeing a lot of people disappointed with that decision. If Shuri is our next Black Panther, why wouldn't people be more excited about her continuing her brother's legacy? Should they recast the role?" Well, thank you for your question, Layla. Now, when Chadwick Boseman died, I'm gonna take it back. When Chadwick Boseman died, it was me, Jeremy, and we got on my show and we talked about what Chadwick Boseman meant to us as as an actor, as a human being, and also as our Black Panther. Now, that same day, or no, that well, the very next day, Screen Rant was basically, talking about, well, what's gonna happen to Black Panther 2? Are they gonna recast? Blah blah blah, this other stuff. And I remember saying that I didn't have a problem with what Marvel and Ryan Coogler are going to do because I trust them. They've never given us anything really questionable, and almost even some of the stuff that's come out mediocre, it still has some good redeeming qualities about it. So the way we got that impact from Black Panther 1, I knew that Black Panther 2, with Chadwick dying, there would be something potentially missing, but also they were going to fill in that gap. Now, I remember seeing the Wakanda Forever trailer. I was laying in my bed. I got the notification from Fandango, Wakanda Forever trailer just dropped, and I watched it. I was in tears from that moment where Angela Bassett was saying, "My like," just paraphrasing, "You took my family, you took all these different things. Like, what more do you want from me?" And then you see, I guess, the people from it's not Atlantis anymore. I think it's called what I forget. It's not Atlantis, but Namor's people from underwater, because they confirmed that they're not from Atlantis. When you see them rise and try to flood Wakanda, and then now you see the government that's involved, like, this is going to be potentially maybe a gut wrenching story. And we see Ironheart, we see Shuri, we see at the end of that last shot, we see a Black Panther standing and raising his hand or her hand, and you see the claws come out. Now, comic book wise, Shuri does become Black Panther because T'Challa went missing. Now, obviously, in the trailer, it seems like they're mourning T'Challa's death. Like, I think they're going to have a funeral scene in the movie. Now, I have no insider information. Now, in the title of this video, in the title of this section of this video, because I'm going to separate this video, it's basically going to say, "Is Shuri confirmed as Black Panther?" Now, a Lego set was released about a couple days ago. And on it, it has a Black Panther person with his helmet off, her helmet off. And it kind of looks like Shuri because I think his hands had like the gauntlets, but with the Black Panther outfit on. And my thing is, I'm okay with Shuri being Black Panther. Now, I've heard a lot of commentators and other people say that well, the Shuri that we know of in the MCU is not a warrior, it's not a fighter. She's basically the smartest person in the MCU. John Campea even said, and this is not an attack John Campea video, but he even said that, she's not Nakia, she's not Okoye, she's not M'Baku, she's not a warrior. We don't know her to be a warrior. And my response to that would be, is that, remember in Avengers Endgame, Shuri was blipped when she came back, and between 2019 and up until now, we don't know what she's been involved in. Who's to say that she's trained herself to be that warrior? And plus, all the people in Wakanda can fight. Now, it doesn't mean that she's on that same level. It just means that, she can handle herself. And also, who's to say, like I said, between that time she died and came back, and since T'Challa has died as well, she hasn't trained herself to fulfill those shoes. And I want to point out, every single piece of tech in Wakanda, she had a hand in either making or building or maintaining. She built the Black Panther suit. So I don't believe it would be hard for her to rearrange that suit to make the hand-to-hand combat more amplified, if amplified to her physical, for her physicality to handle serious situations if she is in the suit. So I personally don't have a problem with her being Shuri or being Black Panther. I kind of wanted Nakia to be Black Panther because she was Black Panther's queen, or M'Baku. Those would be the logical choices. But at the same time, from a comic book standpoint, Shuri was Black Panther. I don't really see why there should be an apprehension towards her and towards her about her being Black Panther. Now, to answer the second part of the question, should they recast the role? I said no, only because Chadwick Boseman had a very good. How can I put this? Chadwick Boseman is T'Challa. You put somebody else in there, I'm not saying that we would immediately judge it, but it wouldn't feel the same. I like people, but people have said, oh, but we've gotten different Batmans, we've gotten different James Bonds. Yes, we have, but we've only had one iteration of Black Panther, and damn it, Chadwick Boseman, he did it to the T, to the point where I can't physically see another person as Black Panther. But I'm also hearing rumors that since this is the multiverse saga, we can still get another T'Challa just from another multiverse. So that's a possibility. We don't know. But do I think they should recast? I wouldn't. I don't think they should. But if they did, I don't know if it would. I don't know. I don't know if it would affect me as much. I would have to see it. But Jeremy, you saw this news. Do you think Shuri should be our Black Panther? Do you think she's our Black Panther? Black Panther, and do you think they should recast?
You ready to get some views, man? Here we go. Of course, Shuri's gonna be the new Black Panther. Mm-hmm. More like Wakanda Forever in the Phase 4 of the MCU. You know what I mean?
Oh,
what is
my
this?
God.
A Mexican Namor? Come on now.
Okay, this broadcast is officially ended.
Clip that out. Nah, man, I love Shuri as Black Panther. People were tripping about the actress. What's her name?
Letitia Wright.
About Letitia Wright not getting vaxxed on the set of Black Panther. And to me, that's like, it's kind of the most Black Panther thing she could have possibly done, if I'm being honest with you. I'm like, fuck
she
yeah.
She has the heart-shaped herb. She's gonna be
good. Let's go, dude. Come on. I understand the apprehension to get vaxxed in certain communities. Let's be honest. It's not like historically the government injecting stuff into Black people has always necessarily ended the best. So it's like, I respect. I'm not saying I agree, but I can respect it. She had her beliefs, she had her convictions. So I don't believe that what happened on the set is big a deal as people were making it out to be. I don't believe that there was actually like a consideration of recasting her. I think she's the natural fit. When you said the claws came out, it just like it clicked something in my head, and I don't mean to be to reinforce gender norms or whatever, but when they talk about cat fights, the claws came out. That's like, so to me, when I watched this trailer, being that it is so focused on Angela Bassett as the matriarch of this family, being that we see everybody from Ironheart to all of these female characters, and what legacy and succession means typically is so male, and this movie Wakanda Forever is so female centric, and I think that's a very cool thing. I think there's something interesting to be mined from the idea that the patriarchy has been lost from Wakanda, and all that's left to carry on the succession is female. So I think that there's something really interesting to do there. John Campia's take is valid. I understand the concept of like, hey, she wasn't trained as a warrior. I agree with you though, 100%. It's like, who's to say since then she hasn't dedicated 22 hours a day to learning how to fight, or to enhancing the suit using technology that kind of levels the playing field. They can justify it with the writing. So I'm not concerned about that. I think Robert Meyer Burnett actually had the most base take, because what he said, and I think it's really cool, is Yes, we have recasted Batman. Yes, we have recasted all sorts of actors, James Bond, all sorts of times throughout history. But the fact that Kevin Feige made the choice not to recast and instead to take the death and narratively work it into the story instead of simply ignoring it and putting some other actor in the role, it's a choice. It's going to be different. I believe as an audience, it's going to give it more emotional impact because not only are we mourning the loss of T'Challa, we're also mourning the loss of the actor Chadwick Boseman, who
Mm,
did define this character
mm.
to, I mean, millions and millions of people. So I respect the fact that they are going into this with the most care and the most respect for the character that they can. And I'm really excited about this movie. It's Takala or Takalin, Talakin,
To lock in,
Talokin.
yeah,
Yeah,
to lock,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Just because I'm saying it so that I
Mm,
remember because
mm,
I keep forgetting what it's called. So
mm,
I'm
mhm.
really interested to see what they do with this movie. I like the fact that they are building the MCU world out even further. And I think Black Panther Wakanda Forever is a great opportunity to showcase a different cultural aspect of the MCU. I'm really excited about this movie. I think Shuri is good casting as far as the recast Chadwick Boseman, or excuse me, the recast T'Challa movement. I feel like no matter what they did, there was going to be a group of people that were upset about it.
Right.
So it's a real situation where it's impossible to make everybody happy. I think, as far as I'm concerned, they made the right choice.
But yeah, Jeremy gives some really good points. There was something I wanted to add to that. That's why I kind of added another meeting to it. Um, Recasting T'Challa, like Jeremy brought up, regardless of whatever decision they would have made, you would have had a lot of people still upset, whether if they recasted him or they would have kept doing what they're doing right now. And Jeremy brought up something very like something that resonated with me that I didn't really think about is that in this trailer we're seeing a lot of women leading the legacy and the matriarchy is kind of on the wayside. And I have seen people say, I don't know how they feel about a woman being Black Panther or a woman basically taking on the reins of leading Wakanda. But my question would be, well, then what my question would be to those people, well, from an artistic standpoint, given the circumstances, if we're not going to recast, right? Well, I think it would be logically, his mom, Chadwick Boseman's mom, I mean, T'Challa's mom would be queen. And what I got from that trailer is that while, T'Challa is gone, she's leading Wakanda. And there could be, rumors that she could be in the suit. And here's the thing: Angela Bassett's character was a Dora Milaje, so she can fight. She could
Let's go,
she
dude.
could she could handle herself, So I would love to see that as well. But to answer that, I'm like, yo, listen, we haven't had a Black female led superhero film in the MCU. We got our first Black led superhero movie, which was Black Panther. We had a Black led series with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We also had we had Shang-Chi. We also had we now have Namor into Wakanda Forever. So they're definitely branching their wings. Our first female superhero film was Captain Marvel, and then we got Black Widow. And then we also got another version of we got Photon, which is another Captain Marvel, which is a Black version of Captain Marvel who's going to be in the Marvels, but she ain't getting her own film.
Yeah.
She's getting incorporated into another film. So I'm all for women getting the opportunity to be represented as, strong independent women, but also as superheroes, because we don't really see that often. It just has to be good. Now, I do agree with the fact that do not put women in this film, in particular Black women in this film, just hold up a social media quota, saying like, "Oh, I'm only doing this just so I can, fulfill the feminist movement." I think that's unwise if that's what their intentions are. But Ryan Coogler and Kevin Feige and the people at Marvel, I trust their better judgment when it comes to that. And honestly, I believe if Chadwick Boseman were still alive, Chadwick Boseman would want to pass the reins of Black Panther to potentially his sister. I mean, because logically, it kind of makes sense. Like, even if you look at what's been going on at Phase 4, you have Hawkeye passing down the reins to Kate Bishop. Same thing with Black Widow. Black Widow kind of passed the reins to her younger sister. You see that trend happening in the multi, even okay, Chris Evans is Captain America. You could arguably say he's Sam Wilson's big brother, and he gave him the mantle. So there's a lot of passing the baton in this particular phase, and Wakanda Forever is supposed to wrap up Phase 4. I'm hoping that this is probably the one of the best movies out of the phases, and we get a better understanding of what we're going to get into by getting into Phase 5. So I'm hoping for the best for this movie. Like I said, that next trailer, I'm willing to bet we're going to get a reveal of who our Black Panther is. And on top of that, sure, being Black Panther, I think logically does make sense. But to Jeremy's point, and even John Campion's point, they have valid points on the fact that we haven't seen Shuri really be a badass. We've seen her be a tech, essentially a tech nerd. But again, we don't know the growth that has happened between Endgame and now, and we haven't seen the people of Wakanda since Endgame. So it'll be interesting to see how far they take it. But Jeremy, did you have any more to add to that?
Yeah, I wanna tread lightly here because sometimes I am just talking out of turn, don't really have all of my thoughts articulated in a way. So if I am just totally out of left field, help me out here. But I've even heard from friends in the Black community that there are conversations about robbing Black men of agency, and even conversations about robbing Black men of masculine traits by taking female characters in Black Panther and putting them in the suit. So there's not a whole lot of Black male representation in the superhero genre. I mean, of course, we lost Chadwick Boseman instead of, and I mean, God forbid we lose anybody, but one of the dozens of white male superheroes there were. So now we went from having Sam and T'Challa and Rhodey to now we have Rhodey and Sam. And that's it. So instead of suit or passing the Black Panther moniker off to a Black man, maybe they're giving it to a woman. So this conversation of wokeness isn't only happening in the white community. It's not only happening among people that I would traditionally think of. So I have to ask you, have you heard any discussion about that?
Great question. And I've heard it. Actually, there's a close friend of mine who said the very thing that you just brought up about there isn't a lot of Black male representation in particular in the MCU in regards to being a Black superhero. And he brought up exactly what you said. We had Rhodey, T'Challa, Sam, arguably Photon, even though we just got her, right? But now that T'Challa is gone, then they decide to not give it to another Black male, but give it to potentially, which by the way, is not confirmed who's Black Panther yet.
Yeah.
It's just being speculated that it could be Shuri because of that Lego set that we saw. By the way, there's a Marvel Legends set of Wakanda Forever, and it seems like that Black Panther that they have is a little bit masculine. And that's not to say that it could be a man or it could be a very masculine woman, but I mean, toys are not necessarily a great depiction of what the character should be. But getting back to the question, one of my close friends was basically saying he didn't like the fact that women were taking the reins and ruling Wakanda, and we didn't get we from that trailer we didn't see a lot of Black men being heavily represented. I can agree with him because the only Black man I remember seeing in that trailer is M'Baku. and he didn't say anything in
For
that
a
trailer
second, yeah.
for a second. And I said that if we were gonna get a Black Panther passing on the mantle, it would make sense for either Nakia or M'Baku. Because remember, in the first movie, M'Baku wanted to be Black Panther. He
Yeah.
fought T'Challa, and technically, you could say that he had him on the ropes and pretty much won, but he lost that fight. So I see where people are coming from and how they feel for that. But I would say to counter that, we haven't seen the movie. We got one trailer. Let's wait till we get the next upcoming trailers and then more of the marketing to come out for this movie. We're literally the third day in August. So we're going to see they ramp up about this movie. They're going to promote She-Hulk and this movie. These are the last two things that they got on the Marvel slate. So I am going to hold off and say that people who make those comments, they have a point, but we haven't seen everything just yet. But I will say this, if they are going to not make Black Panther another man, who's to say that, a woman fulfilling that role wouldn't be the best fit? I mean, because to be fair, we haven't had a Black woman superhero at all. Like the closest thing we had is, like I said, was Photon and the Marvels. So I mean, we could make the argument there are a lot of firsts in the MCU in regards to colored characters, because like you said, Sam, Rhodey, T'Challa. Now we have Namor. Now we have
Shang-Chi, like you said.
Shang-Chi. So we have these different colored superheroes, which is good, but I want to see them flesh those characters out. So yes, I would love our Black Panther to always be a man. I guess because, obviously I have a dick. I want to see a man be a leading role in that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I, growing up, have not seen a Black woman led superhero that's a part of an amazing franchise. So, I would say let's wait and see where they go with this, and then let's wait and see where these press interviews come out, because I'm sure Letitia Wright, Ryan Coogler, Nakia, Lupita Nyong'o, and I forget the actress name who plays Okoye. I'm sure
Denai Guerrera.
Yep, I'm sure they're going to say a lot of things in the interviews addressing a lot of our concerns, like they did in the first film. So, and they were very candid about the first film. I'm sure they're going to be very candid about this film. That was a really good question, because I didn't really think about it until you just brought it up. But did you have anything else to add to this? Because this is a really dope topic to keep diving into.
That was my primary question, and to, I guess, just kind of put my own thought button on it. I agree with a lot of what you said. When we do talk about firsts in the MCU, that's different from talking about firsts. And I say this to say we did have black men superheroes all the way back in 1998 with Wesley Snipes' Blade. You can go all the way through history. There has never been a Black woman led superhero movie. So this wouldn't be a Marvel first. This would be a first. And I think that's great. It also begs a really interesting question about intersectionality is, do you identify as a Black person first? Do you identify as a male or a female first? Do you identify, and that's kind of an interesting thing that we're starting to see in the world right now. And when you say that it's a valid question for Black men to ask, I think that there's a smidge of a point in all of the discourse. And I'm trying to navigate this carefully, but when people talk about status quos and forced diversity and inclusion, I do think there's a kernel of something worth being discussed there. Now, whether or not you decide to base a whole channel around it, I think is pretty ridiculous. If you've got 10 videos coming out in a row about diversity in movies, and maybe your priorities are a little bit fucked, you know what I mean? Like, far be it for me to make a judgment, but I think thematically there's something really interesting here. And again, without trying to navigate this delicately, I think Ryan Coogler might see an opportunity here, because how many households in America are there where there isn't a black male presence in the household because
Mhm.
of any number of things, in this particular situation, death. So I say that to say this is not an example of forced diversity. This is
Mhm.
not an example of inclusion for inclusion's sake.
Mhm.
Ryan Coogler has an interesting idea here, and regardless of what direction he goes with it, he's coming from a position of experience, not just trying to tick boxes.
Yeah, and I agree with what Jeremy just said. Like, and also to piggyback what he said, if you look at Ryan Coogler, Chadwick Boseman was supposed to be in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and then this all came out of a sudden. Just imagine what Ryan Coogler had to go through, having to rewrite and go through the process of storyboarding and like making a film can turn you into a drug addict, especially if the first one was so good. Like,
Yeah.
and I like the fact that you like Jeremy point this out now that I think about it. Like, there's a lot of firsts in the MCU, right? Black Panther was the first black led superhero film. Do you realize if Wakanda Forever comes out and Black Panther is a woman, this will be a first black led superhero film by a woman. So that's two movies by the same director and the same cast of correct characters in the same studio is doing a lot of first
Yep.
in. That's very hard. That's like it's almost iconic. And if it's good, oh my God. And,
Yeah.
and keep in mind, this is our first Latino supervillain in the MCU, I
Yeah.
believe. Yeah. Like this in itself is like a melting pot of first things. And we got rumors that Namor was going to be part of the MCU anyway, but the fact that they actually confirmed it and made him a Latino actor, and I'm assuming all of his other people are Latino as well. My God, this is going to be a monumental movie that I can't wait to
Good
see.
point.
But I would also point out that before we judge things based off the trailer and images and even some promotion art, let's be clear, this is just the beginning stages. By the end of maybe this month, going into September, no, because She-Hulk comes out in September, right around She-Hulk being aired. That's when we're going to see heavy more promotion about Black Panther, and then that's where I think we can make a good judgment. And also, I want to point out before I wrap up, remember the first Black Panther trailer that came out, the very first teaser? A lot of people didn't like it because the special effects weren't finished, right? Now, but when we got that second trailer, though, oh my God, like the trailer even opens up saying the revolution will not be televised.
Yeah.
It will be live. I remember that like it was yesterday. So, yes. So, like for me, we have to wait for that second trailer, wait for the extra promotion. And then that's when I believe we can give a proper critique of what we're going to receive from the movie. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching this show. Jeremy, thank you again for being on the show. What do you guys think about Black Panther, potentially Shuri being Black Panther? And do you think they should recast the role? Jump into the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts.